So we talked about the fact that there are different types of economic activity, and economic activity doesn't just spring up in a random location. They have very specific locations, and the activity is often tied to those locations depending on what it needs. So if we've got commercial farming, that is often going to be in an area where there is lots of fertile land because it needs that to be able to be successful. If you're a shop or if you're a business, you're going to need customers. So you need to have and be in an area, a location where there is access to customers. Equally, if you're at the high end, you're in the quaternary sector and you're doing research and development, you can't just have anyone do that. So you need to be in a location where there are highly skilled employees. So where the activity is based is largely dependent on what it needs and how it can get access to those things. So here's two maps of the coal fields of the UK and where the major cities and towns are. We can see that there's a pattern between the two. So if I look here in Manchester and the Yorkshire region, there's lots of places like Sheffield and Manchester and Leeds. And if I look in the same area, there's a pretty good correlation between where the major coalfields are. If I look up at Newcastle, up here in Sunderland, again, there's a major coalfield. Up at Edinburgh and Glasgow, another coalfield. Down at Cardiff, there's another coalfield. And in this West Midlands area, we've got Birmingham over here. So there must be a reason why these cities grew up in these areas, and it must be related to coal. So the reason you get that correlation in the last map with the coal fields and the urban areas being in very similar locations is because in the industrial area, the locational needs of the heavy industry were that they needed coal. They needed coal to power them. They needed them for making the products. When these factories started to be near the coal, that means they could provide jobs and money. And when jobs and money happen, that means people migrate to those areas to be near the jobs and money. That obviously means that these tiny places that started as villages suddenly grow in population, and then we get these huge towns appearing. The last question to answer was, why did these places not build up far away from the coal fields? Well, there are two main reasons for that. Coal is an incredibly heavy substance, and therefore it is difficult to transport. And at the time, at the start of the Industrial Revolution, transport was very expensive. It did improve as the Industrial Revolution went on, but it was expensive to do because the coal was so heavy. That meant that you had to be close to the coal fields to be able to build your factories, and that is why we get such a close correlation between where the coalfields were, where the factories were, and where the towns built up.